British painter Lucian Freud was famous for how he labored over his portraits, putting his models through grueling, endless hours of awkward poses and examination. It was equal opportunity scrutiny, though. He was just as exacting when it came to his own 70 years of self-portraits. A note to our viewers, the exhibition we're about to show you is at the Museum of Fine Arts, which is currently closed due to coronavirus concerns, and we taped our story before the MFA shut down. Here we find the painter Lucian Freud at the beginning, the end, and everything in between.
He didn't really talk about his work and his influences. So to find him looking at himself and revealing himself in this way throughout the entirety of his career is really quite special.
When he died in 2011, Freud was one of the most famous painters England had ever seen. He was a reticent public figure with a storied private life, including at least 14 children. Artistically, his pride was in portraiture, one of the most famous being this 2001 painting of Queen Elizabeth.
He didn't necessarily have the time that he might have had with the majority of his sitters. It's incredibly small and incredibly intense and has this wonderful sense of worked upness about it.
By all accounts, Freud labored over his paintings, spending 80 hours in some cases, in a process that spanned months, if not years, says Andrea Tarsia of London's Royal Academy of Arts. He is the curator of this first-ever Freud self-portrait show at Boston's Museum of Fine Arts.
He would look and look and look, mix a number of paints, and then perhaps the result of a sort of 20-minute, half an hour period of observation might result in just one brushstroke.
The exhibition features some 70 years of Freud looking at himself, from the sketches of a teenager and his first painterly efforts to the final renderings of a man who once said he wanted to paint himself to death.
He's using a variety of different colors that aren't really about realism. They're not about capturing skin exactly as it is, but rather conveying a sense and a quality of it. And I think something else that's really interesting about this painting is how important eyes are.
It's always amazing when you get to meet an artist through their work.
Achille Tomasino is an associate curator at the MFA. He says Freud turned to the proverbial selfie to mark significant moments in his life, like big birthdays or marriage, which was as complicated as it looks here.
He looked at himself in a very glancing and sometimes even suspicious way. His primary tool in rendering his own image were mirrors. Freud will present himself partially cropped or from unconventional angles that he would place the mirrors around the studio.
It's interesting to consider what and how deeply Freud saw. In case you're wondering, there is a connection to the other Freud. Sigmund was his grandfather.
Whenever critics tried to describe his work in terms of psychology and psychological insight, he would always say, no, this isn't what I'm really interested in. What I'm interested in is conveying a sense of presence, of physical presence, and using paint as an equivalent for flesh.
Freud loved flesh and nakedness.
He hated the word nude. He always used the word naked. There were naked portraits. And for him, really, it was about getting closer to the person. It was about losing the layers within which we mask ourselves to a certain extent.
Freud is in the flesh here, even when you think he isn't. Planted in the background, looming as a shadow, or discreetly propped against a skirting board.
One of the stories that goes with the painting is the father said, whatever you do, don't remove that hand from behind your back or we'll be here for another 6 months.
All of this, the show's curators say, is a rarity. Few artists have faced off against themselves so often. Van Gogh is famed for his self-portraits, but they were painted in a limited time frame. One absolute portrait precedent, and an artist Freud himself acknowledged, was Rembrandt. He channeled the Dutch artist in this early drawing.
It's a very simple graphic drawing. It looks like there's almost nothing there, but it really has this tremendous power that sucks you right across the room. And you see him with his head tilted back and his mouth slightly open. It's a drawing that really recalls a series of etchings that Rembrandt made in the 1540s, where he's also depicting himself in a variety of different expressions.
Self-expression is the theme here, in these portraits of an artist as an evolving man.